mics are turn onable now. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for a regular meeting of the Planning Commission for July 11th, 2019. Commissioners present include Commissioner Fiorino, Commissioner Henderson, and Commissioner Laddish. The other two are, as they say in sports broadcasting, out on assignment. So let's start with the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I haven't seen any correspondence come in on the items we have today. Do we have anything been submitted?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And there are no agenda changes.
Okay. So we'll start with public comment. This would be public comment on items that are not on the agenda. And the limit would be 5 minutes per person, which we could easily handle today, obviously. So are there any public comments for non-item matters? Seeing none, we will proceed. So the first item on the agenda is project number 2019-024 ZA and APC for Jason and Jody Brixey, and we'll hear from the staff.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Morning.
So what you have before you is a California Land Conservation Contract application for Agriculture Preserve number 365 for Jody and Jason Brixey. This application consists of 5 contiguous parcels totaling 102.67 acres. The parcels are located off Whittle Road, near the corner of Whittle Road and State Highway 49 near Angels Camp. The agricultural operation consists of an organic grass-fed beef operation consisting of 10 acres of irrigated pasture. The remaining of the land is dry pasture for grazing. The Brixies have reported a gross annual income of $90,000 on their production, which far exceeds the minimum requirement of $2,000 in order to be eligible for the Williamson Act. The general plan land use designation is natural resource lands, mineral resource area 2A, with a portion of the land being designated in the Angels sphere of influence as agricultural estates. Subsequent to the establishment of the Agriculture Preserve contract, there are parcels associated with this application that will need to be rezoned. The Ag Preserve zoning is applied to lands for which the Williamson Act contract has been enacted or executed. And as said before, 3 out of the 5 parcels are currently zoned unclassified, and they will need to be zoned Agriculture Preserve. That is a part of this application. Previously, a portion of this land is currently under contract by the previous property owner. It's been under contract since 1996. The previous property owner has filed a notice of non-renewal. The Brixies now own the entire 102 acres, for which, of course, they are applying to establish a full Williamson Act contract on the entire property. Groundwater potential, although is 0 to low, I think the Brixies have shown that there is adequate water supply to provide necessary water for the residential and agricultural uses of the property. They currently have 3 wells serving the property, in addition to 2 waterways providing seasonal surface water for the agricultural operation. And a portion of the land is designated as being in the UPUD service area that would potentially serve water to the parcel if needed. The land is in a high fire hazard area designated by the county. Maintaining land in agriculture will reduce the vegetation, therefore reducing the fire hazard of the property. Through the county-appointed Agricultural Committee, Advisory Committee, they did take into consideration this application, and a vote of 5-0, they have recommended that the Board of Supervisors establish this contract. The establishment of an agriculture preserve is exempt, and we have prepared a notice of exemption in compliance with CEQA. In conclusion, is it too far? Do you hear the buzzing? Sorry.
No?
Oh, no? I'm too loud. In conclusion, the application is consistent with general plan policies pertaining to preservation of agriculture land and open space. In addition, the land has proven itself capable of sustaining a viable agricultural operation through the current production as well as previous production records. Livestock grazing will control fire fuels, therefore reducing the fire hazard. And in addition, your Ag Advisory Committee appointed by the county and your Agricultural Commissioner has taken into consideration and makes a positive recommendation for establishment of the contract. Any questions?
Questions for this guy? I have one question, and that
Yes.
is the 2 parcels that, are 2 of the parcels already AP zoned?
2 of the parcels are already zoned agriculture preserve because the property has not yet rolled out of the ag preserve, so they did file a notice of non-renewal, but as we know, that is a 10-year process where they begin the rollout process, and it is not yet completed. Even though upon completion, the property owner would, if they did not want to re-enter into the preserve, would have to file an application with our department to zone it appropriately out of ag preserve. But no, you are correct. 2 of the 5 parcels are still zoned agriculture preserve.
Okay, and just looking ahead, the first whereas paragraph in the resolution needs to be clarified as far as the zoning. Where now it says, and ag preserve for 5 parcels. We don't have to deal with it now, I just wanted to mention that it... I didn't notice anything in the resolution where it said 2 are already and 3 need to be changed and that sort of thing.
Do you feel the need to further describe that?
Well, I think it needs to be clear what we're doing. And we're changing the zoning on
3,
on 3.
which is described in the resolution heading, the recommendation.
So the reference to ag preserve is not to the zoning in that statement.
Oh.
It's the ag preserve is the term that's used for being in the internet contract.
Oh, okay. So we're not even referring to the zoning
Not
there.
that first paragraph.
There. Okay. Okay, great. All right. We'll hear from the applicant. You the applicant? No,
No.
we don't have the
I don't believe
applicant.
they're here.
So if you have any questions for the applicant, it's too bad. Fine. Well, then I think we'll have public comment on this. No public comment? Right, we'll close the public hearing and have discussion by the commissioners.
I don't have anything to discuss. I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with it either.
Okay, there's one point that was raised by legal counsel about, if we can move on to the resolution now. The first paragraph of "be it therefore resolved," my understanding is that we may need another exemption, CEQA exemption description for the zoning amendment.
The zoning simply identifies that the land is in contract. We have always relied on the exemption for putting land into Williams Net contract for this kind of action. You certainly can add another finding if need be. I don't think it's necessary.
All right. Seeing that legal counsel doesn't seem to be worked up about that.
We don't need to, the commission doesn't need to make specific findings. It needs to be aware. I mean, I know that I don't want to create an issue on the record about something that may not be controversial, but, okay.
Okay. All right. The only other thing I would have on the resolution is under number 3, in the evidence, there's the second sentence. Oops, well, the evidence is, the word evidence appears twice.
Oh,
Evidence. The second sentence in there, the majority of landowners in this area have land zone general agriculture, and then I would say or instead of as well.
okay.
Other than that, I don't have any problems with it. So do you want to present the resolution?
So you ready for your recommendation?
I am.
Okay. Staff recommends the Planning Commission pass a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-014, recommending the Board of Supervisors approve application 2019-024, establishing Agriculture Preserve number 365, and to adopt an ordinance amending the zoning of assessor parcel numbers 064-008-036, 064-007-063, and 064-007-064 from unclassified to agriculture preserve based on the findings included therein.
As amended.
As amended.
Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are no opposed. Motion passes. Our ears are splitting.
Yeah, that's a nice sound, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So our next item on the agenda is 2018-048, TPM, ZA, and PD for Continue LP. Madeline, you're presenting this?
Turn your mic off, Madeline.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madeline Flandreau. Sorry, I can't even pronounce my own last name this morning. I am presenting Project 2018-048, which is a zoning amendment, plan development permit, and tentative parcel map for Continue LP. The applicant is requesting approval of a zoning amendment from C2 General Commercial to C2 PD, which is adding the plan development combining zone, a plan development permit, and a tentative parcel map to allow a condominium conversion of an existing 20,000 square foot commercial structure into a single commercial condominium. There are no changes or improvements that are proposed to the existing structure. The project is on APN 054-014-019, which is located at 90 Rock Creek Road in Copperopolis, which is on the northwest corner of the intersection of Highway 4 and Rock Creek Road. The project parcel is a 6.36 acre developed lot with a commercial structure, which is surrounded by asphalt parking. The structure contains 10 units, which are currently occupied with commercial tenants, and it is served by an on-site well and on-site septic system. And there's also an existing encroachment onto Rock Creek Road. The zoning of the area, the adjacent parcel to the north is zoned AP, Ag Preserve, and the parcels across Rock Creek Road and Highway 4 are zoned A1 General Agriculture. The parcel to the west is developed with a single-family residence, and there are commercial, industrial, and residential uses on Main Street directly across Highway 4 to the southeast. The existing general plan land use designation is Copperopolis Community Center, and the proposed land use designation is commercial. One of the purposes of the planned development combining zone is to provide flexibility for condominium development. Pursuant to County Code 1750040, the PD is required for condominiums which utilize density transfer and common areas to create parcels that are smaller than the minimum size permitted by the general plan. The plan development performance standards of Chapter 1750, such as parking and landscaping, are applicable to the project. So in order to ensure that the current use is meeting the standards of the plan development combining zone, a plan development permit is also being processed with this application. The site is developed, and therefore the developer has already complied with the performance standards of the C2 zone, which include parking and landscaping. The performance standards of the PD differ slightly with regards to the square footage of landscaping required. A parking and landscaping plan was previously approved in 2006, which demonstrated compliance with the county's requirements for square footage, setbacks, parking and landscaping in the C2 zone. However, the existing landscaping, which was approved in 2006, far exceeded the requirements under the C2 standards, and so therefore it meets the requirements of 1750-060 for the plan development permit. The tentative parcel map is here. Parcel maps are required for the creation of a commercial condominium pursuant to the Commercial and Industrial Common Interest Development Act. And in addition, Calaveras County Code 1601-160 states that a parcel map shall be required for a subdivision when the project is zoned commercial, has frontage on a county road, there are no dedications or improvements necessary, and the road on which the parcel has frontage is in standard condition, which Rock Creek Road, being a county-maintained road, is. I distributed an amended resolution to you all, which added finding number 8, which provides evidence that the project is in compliance with the requirements of Calaveras County Code Section 1601-160A3. The project is exempt from CEQA. The conversion of an existing structure to a condominium is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15301, Existing Facilities, Part K, which states that the division of existing multiple family or single family residences into common interest ownership and subdivision of existing commercial or industrial buildings where no physical changes occur which are not otherwise exempt. The circulation of the project application did not result in any agency concerns and revealed no environmental effects. All comment letters that were received were standard governmental agency and department replies, and none of which objected to the proposed change in zoning. So in conclusion, the proposed condominium conversion would convert an existing permitted land use, being a 20,000 square foot commercial structure with 10 units, into a single condominium unit. There are no physical changes or change in land use that are proposed, so the subdivision would remain in compliance with the zoning classification and general plan land use designation for the parcel. In addition, the landscaping and natural vegetation currently existing on the property exceeds the minimum requirements for the project, and access to the site is adequate without any need for additional improvements. And that's it.
Any questions? I do, again, it has to do with the resolution, but since to give the applicant a chance to talk about it. The 36 months on two of the resolutions, why the resolution's valid for, or at least the approval is valid for 36 months. The third resolution about the tentative parcel map runs the 36 months from today. And it seems to me, wouldn't it run from the time the Board of Supervisors approved this? This is the Resolution 2019-019, negative declaration and approving tentative parcel map. And on page 3 of 5, under general conditions, it says in the third paragraph, tentative parcel map approval is valid for a period of 36 months or until July 11th, 2022. And
I would agree that that should be the date that the board makes the final action, because normally a planning parcel map without a zoning amendment is, you're the approving authority, so that would be correct. But because of the zoning, the whole packet is going up. So since we don't know the date of that, why don't we just strike the or until July 11th, 2022? Or maybe replace it with from the date of approval by the Board of Supervisors.
yeah, I would think it'd be better to have from the date of approval. Then I think that same language could be added to the second resolution. The plan development, it just says it's valid for 36 months, and I think that's on page 2 of that. I think they have the same language as from the date of approval, but
Yes.
the Board of Supervisors.
Not sure.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is 2019-018. Page 2.
018.
Yeah. Which is the plan development.
Oh, it's not.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And where are you on?
Page 2, under general conditions, condition 1-2. Okay, and we can get back to the resolution later on. Okay, no further questions for the...
Page 2.
Yeah, but this,
Oh, wait a minute.
This is here. It's here. Same here.
Oh. Yeah.
but this is replacing that. Okay. So the resolution that's in the packet has been replaced by the resolution that was passed out before the meeting.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to find where that is. And I think we've already covered that one.
Well,
So there's 0.
Oh,
what you passed out is only one.
oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
I see.
So I'm
You are
talking
right.
about 2019-01.
Sorry for my confusion.
Well, it's nice to see you confused, everyone. Okay, so literally we're on the same page.
We are now on the same page. Thank you.
Okay, we will hear from the applicant.
Morning.
Morning.
Could you speak at the microphone so you're on the record?
Morning, I'm Jay Lang, I'm with Continue LP as manager. We presented it, and I think, well, Madeline did an excellent job presenting. There's really not much more that I could say other than I see that this project was approved, as she mentioned, in 2006 as the entire project, and the interest is in part of the condominium aspect of it is to be able to allow smaller businesses to be able to own their own place and be able to thrive in the county here. So that was the interest of what we're trying to do with this. So that's basically really all I have to say on that end of it. Everything's been developed on the site. There is 2 approaches onto the property there itself, and no changes or anything other than what was approved prior to 2006 will be done. So,
Well, now you raised it. My question was, this is presented as a single condominium. Now, so what you're really anticipating is having many condominiums.
the building in itself will be presented as a condominium, correct? So it'll allow the use of from the individuals that are in there, the tenants of the ownership of it.
So, and that's your understanding of what we're approving is, even though we're saying it's a single condominium, what we'll end up with is a group of condominiums? This is what I didn't understand about the whole thing.
And, yeah, it's the condominium map isn't required to describe the location of the individual condominium units. The formal legal description is set forth in the condominium plan, which is not regulated by local government. But maybe, Peter, if you can...
Yeah, it's sort of an obscure provision of the MAP Act that allows the, when the final map is recorded, the parcel map is recorded, it lays out where the actual, and it's called a condominium plan, the actual units within that condominium. It's not mapped. When it's the parcel map itself just shows, here's a condominium. Mm-hmm. And then the units themselves are described in the condominium plan, and that can vary, it can fluctuate. And so when the condominium plan is it's not really recorded, but when it's filed, it is then identifies what portion of the building, whether it's the whole building or component of it, is owned by a certain individual. It took us quite some time to try to grapple with that. We spent a lot of time working with his engineer, the county surveyor, trying to understand it. It sort of takes you around in circles in the law. But this is the correct procedure that we're operating under.
Okay, and then I actually didn't notice in the resolution whether it said single condominium, but if we use that term, we're not limiting him to one condominium.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Wanted to make sure that
Thank you.
we're
Yes,
all on the
appreciate
same
it.
page. Okay. Any other questions?
Actually answer one of the questions I had about, just say condominium, so I was kind of confused whether it was just one unit in the building or...
And why and how, yeah.
Yeah, so,
With a commercial condominium for an existing parcel, it's very flexible. If we were dealing with, say, a residential condominium, something that wasn't constructed yet, we would have much more concern over the number of units, because typically with residential, it's units sort of drives the impact. Here you've got 10,000 square feet of building, and whether it's owned by one person or 10 people, it's still 10,000 square feet of commercial space. The impacts are the same. So that's, I guess, the genesis of this legislation and how we got to sort of the strange procedure that we have to go through on this.
Any other questions?
Explain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a public comment on this item? Public comment, we'll come back. Do you have anything further to say?
Nope.
As I say, my only concern is that we're not limiting the applicant. But if applicant and you are confident that we're not, well, that's fine. All right, any discussion by the commissioners?
No, the discussion was clarified on the question.
All right.
Yep. I'm happy.
Okay, you want to present the resolutions?
Recommendation. Staff recommends the Planning Commission pass a motion approving resolutions 2019-017, 2019-018, and 2019-019 as amended, recommending that the Board of Supervisors approve project number 2018-048 for a zoning amendment, plan development permit, and tentative parcel map, approving the condominium conversion based upon the findings included therein.
Any discussion about the resolution itself? Questions, suggestions? So, with the amendments that we discussed earlier about date of approval by the Board of Supervisors, that those resolutions are before us. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
So it's been moved
I'll second.
and seconded that we approve the resolutions as presented and as amended. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? There is no opposed. The motion passes. And thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Good morning, Afeto, and welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Commission.
Okay, we have item 2019-010, a zoning amendment.
While she's getting set up, I would just like to formally introduce
Yes,
Batu
go ahead.
Samuel, newest planner one in our department. We're really happy to have her here, and she's doing a great job.
And pronounce the first name again for us.
Ifatu.
Ifatu.
Yes, that's
I
correct.
Ifetu, so 2 out of the 3 wrong.
That's all right.
Ifatu, please present.
Okay, so I'm going to be presenting the zoning amendment for Paloma Farm LLC. So let's get started with the location of the project. The parcel is located on the north side of Paloma Road, just east of Cosgrove Creek, and on the west side of the Paloma and Gillum Road intersection. And here's just a vicinity map for you as well. And so let's discuss the project description, starting off with APN 009 at 4 acres, zoned RR11, and APN ending in 020 at 15.12 acres. These two parcels previously existed in 2 subdivisions, Pardee Estates subdivision and North Cosgrove Creek subdivision, but were later merged in 1995 with parcel ending in 064 at 32.52 acres, zone unclassified, to create one legal parcel, totaling 51.64 acres. And the purpose of this zone change, the proposed zone change is to rezone the unclassified parcel and rural residential parcels to general agriculture, allowing for zoning consistency and agricultural operations. So surrounding the property is 5 to 10 acre residential ranchettes, as well as agricultural lands that are grazed by longhorn sheep, as well as residential ranchettes that house horses, sheep, goats, and personal livestock. And here are just a few photos of the parcel. This is the front of the parcel entrance. There's also an existing metal shop on the parcel as well. It's the only structure on the parcel. That's a better view of it there. And we're doing a 360 now of the property. And that's the adjacent parcel. As you can see, it's wide grazing land for the longhorn cows. And this photo was taken across the way on Cosgrove Creek Road, and you could see in red there the metal shop, as well as the parcel that is, majority of it is, which is on a slope, as you can see on the right there. And here's another photo of the adjacent property from the parcel. And this photo was taken on Paloma Road, and you could see the majority of the parcel there on that slope. So as far as compatibility with the surrounding land, it's a mix of unclassified land, rural residential, rural agriculture, as well as land that is currently in agricultural preserves and general agriculture. There are several acres of land being utilized as for livestock, including, like I said before, chickens, goats, and sheep, as well as plenty of grazing land. And I just want to show you a few photos of the surrounding land now. This was taken from the street right outside of the property. This is to the right of Paloma Road, the neighbors. Again, this is taken right in front of the property. This is the entrance at the southeast side end of the property. As you can see, the right turn leads you to Cosgrove Creek Road, and which is the subdivision of 5 to 10 acre ranchettes. And here's an aerial photo of Cosgrove Creek Road with the ranchettes. So with the existing general plan future land use, it is zoned as future single family residential, but A1 is a resource zone, and it is consistent with any land use designation under our current general plan. And I'm going to turn it over to Peter to briefly discuss the proposed future land use designation.
So this creates a little bit of an odd situation where a portion of the property is in the resource production area, but the two portions of the parcel that were formerly or that were created as part of the subdivision were designated as rural transition. Because, frankly, I think we believe that those were separate parcels because of the way the APNs identified as three separate APNs, but it is a single parcel. The A1 zone is not a compatible zone with that land use designation. And so we'll probably need to do some cleanup of the general plan land use map. We will be finding anomalies like this as we move forward, and probably in the next 6 months or so after the board adopts a general plan, we'll be going back with some, here we've discovered some other inconsistencies. It's just a matter of course, that kind of thing happens when you do a comprehensive update like that. So if the finding is that it should be, that the zoning amendment should be approved, then it would be appropriate that at some time, either when the board adopts a general plan or shortly thereafter, to amend the map to correlate with this action.
I was wondering about that, because whether we were hoping to get this in under the wire before the new general plan came.
So right now, this is just for information purposes, because we
Yeah.
are still operating under the current general plan, and it would be
Right.
consistent. But because we're in this transition, it's important that we sort of look at that to say, are we creating a problem? And we're sort of creating a problem, but it's not unresolvable.
Okay. So if what we're approving, if we approve it today, what we approve today, if it becomes effective before the new general plan, is there still the problem?
Well, we actually have that provision in the new general plan that says that existing zoning that is of lower intensity or lower density can remain, that it's not
Yeah.
incompatible. And so we wouldn't necessarily have to make the change if it were approved before. We just don't know what's going to happen first.
Yeah.
And so if we end up adopting the general plan before we approve the zoning amendment, we'll probably need to go back and, make some correction. If this gets approved before the final adoption of the general plan, and likely it will, it would not be inconsistent, only by a couple of weeks probably.
Yeah.
But it would be probably appropriate to clean it up anyway, just because it doesn't make sense to have the split land use designation on the parcel when it's all intended to be used for agriculture.
Okay, now, do you have more?
Yes.
Okay.
We're ready to move on?
Yeah.
So as far as fire hazards are concerned, this area of Calaveras County is in the very high potential area, but with the introduction of agriculture operations such as livestock grazing, it will reduce the potential for a very high fire hazard, as well as reducing the amount of fire fuels on the property. A CEQA initial study was prepared, and a negative declaration was reached with a finding of no significant impacts, and was circulated for 30 days with no non-routine comments received or objections. And just in conclusion, we are doing a zoning amendment from unclassified and rural residential to general agriculture, and if amended, it will be consistent with the zoning code and the general plan, as well as compatibility with the surrounding area. It will reduce fire fuels and allow for agricultural operations. That's it.
That's it? Any questions for the staff? I have some questions on the negative declaration, just kind of housekeeping stuff. Boy, I think you did a fine job on this.
Thank you.
And also, it's nice, with all the photographs that you have up there, it underlines the fact that that grass no longer is green.
Yeah.
It's now brown.
Yeah.
And it needs grazing. On page 9 of your negative declaration, the E there under air quality, you don't have the check mark that later on you discuss that it is a less than significant impact. And I don't know why there isn't even a, see what I mean? You have E,
Oh,
and you
okay.
go out,
Okay.
and there's,
I see that. That is a correction that will need to be made.
okay, and then on page 12, under geology and soils, A2 and 3, you show less than significant impact as far as the check marks go. But-
So the same error.
But on the next, well, I don't know, on the next page,
That's just less than.
on the next page, under A, you say no impact, so maybe those check marks just got in the wrong place.
Yeah, they just need to be swapped to no impact. Thank you for pointing that out.
And then B and C, then you'd be moved in the other direction. Because in B and C, you indicate it's less than significant impact, and the check marks are in those
That is noted as well. Thank you.
boxes. That, pages 12 and 13. 13 is just the comments. Page 12 is the geology and soils, B and C. Then I have a question on page 15, we're talking about hazards and hazardous materials. The top of the page, why G is shown as less than significant impact, and that's consistent with your comment. It's just that I don't see why this isn't a no impact.
I just wanted to highlight the potential of impact, introducing a bona fide agricultural operation to the property. Based on what the applicant presented, he stated that he would like to graze sheep, but in 3, 4, 10 years, that might change and be consistent with a different permitted use in the general agriculture zone. So that is that.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. Okay.
Commissioner Ladders, just for the record, these corrections that you've noted don't really change the finding that there is less than significant impact, and it doesn't affect, since we've already routed it and circulated,
Right.
There's no need to recirculate the environmental document. I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with that. As I say, I view these as housekeeping
Yeah.
things. Okay, if that concludes the department's presentation?
Yes.
All right, so we'll hear from the applicant. I was hoping you were the applicant. You're not the only other person here.
I particularly, well, first of all, Las Delgado, District 1, I live in Valley Springs. I particularly don't have anything else to add, but if there are any questions, I'd gladly answer them.
No. We welcome more grazing animals in this highly flammable county. Any questions?
I noticed this shop was previously used for cannabis cultivation. Are you the same owner that was?
This is correct, yes.
And now you want me to believe that you want to do this to put sheep on there, not to have an opportunity to increase cannabis cultivation on this?
Mr. Trent, the application is for a land use. Currently, cannabis is not a permitted use in the county, so that's objectively something that we can't even consider. However, grazing my livestock is, and that is what I'm trying to do.
So you currently graze sheep now?
I do not. I want to. There's a business plan in there that shows everything that I'm going to do as far as infrastructure, acquiring livestock, the investment amount that's going to go into the property, the fencing. Those are all my projected plans. Yes, sir.
I just point out that we are approving a A1 zoning, which might become consistent with cannabis growth, but those permits will be under an ordinance that doesn't yet exist and will be reviewable by the planning department, presumably when the ordinance does exist. So I think that's a question that can be we can wait for as things develop. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any public comment on this? Good morning.
Hi. I resent the Planning Commission consolidating acreage to facilitate the growing of cannabis. And that is where this is going. It doesn't matter what all the niceties that have been said, that is where it's going. There will be cannabis growing there if you consolidate that land. And that's what it's all about. You're helping facilitate cannabis growing in a rural residential area in District 1, in which I live, and I object to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal?
Nope. Are you ready for the recommendation?
I believe we are, unless there are other questions for the staff.
Questions?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve Resolution 2019-020 as amended, recommending the Board of Supervisors to adopt the negative declaration and approve the zoning amendment from unclassified and rural residential to general agriculture for APNs 40025-009, 40001-064, and 40026-020.
Any suggested changes?
I have no suggestion.
Okay, any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the resolution as given.
Is there a second? I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution 2019-020. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, since we have we only have 3 members present, my understanding is that we need to have 3 commissioners take an action for any action to be officially taken. So since we don't have 3, do we just continue this to the next meeting?
I believe it goes to the board with no recommendation, unless there's another motion to deny the application.
I think it's a recommendation against. There's 3.
This isn't this is a legislative act, and so my thought is, and then I'm not sure. I mean, I think the applicant could request that it be continued so there's a full commission. It could go forward to the board, and I do believe it's with no recommendation, but we might want to discuss that further because there isn't a recommendation to deny it. It's just not a recommendation to approve it at this point in time. So I think we'd go forward with no recommendation from the commission.
So it appears that you have an option that you can, do you understand what our problem is here? We only have 3 commissioners present. Only 2 voted to take the action that was requested. And that isn't enough for us to actually take the action.
Yes.
So
When would it be presented before the board? I don't think that that's a terrible idea to do, even if it moves forward without a recommendation, unless I currently have a recommendation from someone now. Not to proceed in that route, simply because I believe when it gets to the board,
wait a second, there seems to be a discussion here. One thing that can be done is you could request a continuance to a planning commission meeting where there's the full planning commission.
That sounds fine with me. Yeah, we can proceed that way.
Does it sound good?
Yeah.
When he's indicating a motion to continue, or requesting a motion to continue.
You can, if you feel that it's appropriate to take a motion to continue after discussion, which I guess is your call, it's a legislative act, I don't know how you guys feel about that. It would take 3 votes for the continuance.
Right, no, I understand
and you would
that.
want to take have public comment on the continuance only.
Okay. It will, we will see if there would be 3 votes for a motion in favor of the motion for continuance. We just can't take any action unless we
Without
have
a
3
vote
people.
from the commission, okay.
But why don't you step aside for a moment, and we'll see if there's any public comment on a motion for continuance.
Yes, sir.
This is outrageous.
What's outrageous? I think you tell us what's outrageous.
It's outrageous because it's being pushed through with the help of the Planning Commission, and it's underhanded, and it's to grow cannabis, and it's not being addressed.
All right?
I'm against a continuance. You have 3 people here, and 2 of you voted for it, 1 against. In other words, it did not pass. I've never seen such a thing.
Joyce Teckle, myvalleysprings.com. I think it's important that this gentleman get his hearing all the way through to the end of whatever process is available to him. And if he chooses to have a continuance, that's what he ought to get. Thank you.
Okay.
So an applicant can request a continuance. The decision is the commission's, whether
Yes.
to continue or not.
Right, and any decision. needs
So
to be-
I just remembered a provision of our code that is different than my past experience. So on a zoning amendment, if the zoning amendment is denied at the Planning Commission, the action is final unless appealed to the Board of Supervisors. And so by, I think council is correct that essentially the failure to have 3 votes in the affirmative is essentially a denial. I was thinking that to move forward for approval, it has to go to the board, but we have a different set of code that says basically the denial of a zoning amendment is a denial unless appealed to the Board of Supervisors. So it probably would have been appropriate to identify that up front before a vote was taken to determine if the applicant requested a continuance for a full
So
commission.
officially, we have denied it.
You have denied it at this
And then,
point.
yes.
Can I
Come
use my
on.
public comment time?
Come on back, yeah.
So as public comment, it is my understanding that I could express what's going on here from my point of view.
Well, no,
And-
you can do that as the applicant. You go
Okay,
ahead.
well, there's a board, a commission today of 3 people here. It's a 2-to-1, so in my eyes and in common sense eyes, that's not a denial. There's a more yeses than nos. Objectively, I would like to say that, the rules need to be fair. We are playing under a set of rules that, with a general plan that allows me to ranch my land. And what I am trying to do here is have my 51 acres turned into 1 parcel that I can fence in and protectedly farm my land. Use, my sheeps, my land, turn my grass into profits that currently right now are a liability for me and my family because I am a taxpayer in this county. So I believe it's important that everyone understands that we need to use the rules that we're playing with right now. And it is smart as a resident of this county that I want to try and foresee what could happen, and we should take the future general plan into consideration. But currently, we're operating under these guidelines, and under these guidelines, the planning department, myself, and everyone here, I'm pretty sure, can see that it is consistent with what I am trying to do now. So I think it's very important that we all reconsider that and understand that Mr. Peter, I believe you said it was a denial, but when we have a board of 3 and you have 2 yeses and 1 no, that is not a denial, at least not in my eyes. If anything, it's a failure of the commission not to be complete. And if we should have waited, then we can. And this is the reason why I'm saying, hey, can we do this again with 5 people here the way that it's supposed to be?
I just briefly, regarding the 2 to 1, when you have a planning commission under the Brown Act, you need a quorum to take action. A quorum is a majority of the entire commission, regardless of who's present. So you needed 3 votes, even though there are 2 who are absent.
So then that is something that absolutely should have been stated beforehand, given the fact that the 5 commissioners that represent me as a citizen and resident of this county are not here to conduct their job, and I'm sure that they have perfectly reasonable reasons, but I should have been informed of that because that is not an even playing field.
So at this point, the options, first of all, I want to correct a statement that was made. The land is already consolidated into a single parcel. We're not merging property today. That was done in 1996. It has 2 separate zones, actually 3 separate zones, and that's what's before the commission today, is whether to rezone the entire parcel. The RR zone allows some limited agricultural use of the land, but for commercial agricultural operation, a zoning amendment is necessary to do that. If the commission is inclined to allow the applicant to have a hearing before a full commission, it would be necessary, since a vote was taken, and the result of the vote, even though it was 2 to 1, as County Council explained, it takes 3 positive votes for a positive action. And so those who voted in the majority could call for reconsideration at this point.
So would we have to make a motion to reconsider?
Could we maybe recess for 5 minutes so I can work with County
I
Council?
would like to
figure out
have
what-
one more
what
comment
the
if possible before we
procedure
do.
is?
Yeah.
Is that possible, Mr. Meek? I would like to say one more thing before we take a break, as Mr. Peter has requested. I know that ignorance of the law or the rule does not exempt you from it, but had I known that, I needed 3 out of the 5, even if the 2 weren't here, maybe I would have requested something differently. But the same rule applies to all of us here today. We need to use the rules on hand to make this decision so that it's an even playing field. We can't foresee or make ideas of what, it's not real today.
We do need to follow the rules. And one of the rules for the Planning Commission, which I did mention that all 3 need to agree in order to take any action on and to approve a resolution. Part now that refresh my recollection. Part of the Planning Commission hearing procedures say if only 3 commissioners are present for a hearing, a continuance shall be granted by right if requested by an applicant prior to the commencement of the hearing. I did not have that in mind myself before we started. If I had, I would have said that. These are publicly, available procedures, and no way am I saying you should have been aware of this coming in, but that is our rule. I think the best thing for us to do is to take this break and have the powers that be.
Thank you.
What our options are.
Appreciate everyone's time today.
Thank you. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes until 10:20. We're going to call the meeting back to order. Oop.
His hat's still here.
If your hat's here, we're...
He's coming back.
One never leaves his lid.
Okay, I call the meeting back to order at 10:20. You might want to stand up here. So we're reviewing all our various rules and such. As I previously stated, why, if there are only 3 members present, why, if we have to be unanimous in those 3 members in order to pass a resolution. The legal effect of only 2 voting for it and 1 opposed, the legal effect is that it's a denial. No matter what the count is, it's failed and is a denial. So that since it's a denial, we have taken action, and so we can't continue something on something where we've already taken an action. So a continuance, no matter how I might have led you on, is not appropriate. It would be without effect if we voted for a continuance. Any vote we take today would have to have 3 votes in order for us to take that action. So one clear channel for you is to appeal to the Board of Supervisors, which is going to cost you $500. But that's make sure that the Board of Supervisors has a quorum, a full attendance that day. And just given what we're all learning today, is that I would suggest that you check the Board of Supervisors rules beforehand for any possible rights of continuance, et cetera, in case they don't have a full board there. But that's just a friendly advice.
Okay. I would like to say that after a little research that I did there, I've read that after a committee has voted on a bill, reconsideration can occur, and I'd like to demand that if possible, please.
I wouldn't demand it, but I understand.
Requested, asked
yes,
for it.
I would say that it would be rather premature for us. I mean, if you want us to vote now on reconsideration, I think that would be kind of irrational.
Yeah. Okay. So I will be appealing to the board then.
Yeah, we do, in our hearing procedures do provide that any commissioner who voted in the majority or who was absent on an action can request reconsideration at any time before the Board of Supervisors takes final action. So just as for example, at the next meeting, either a commissioner who was in the majority, and I would interpret that as the majority is the actual 2-to-1 vote, or a commissioner that was absent, either of the 2 commissioners that were absent, could request reconsideration. But so that's something that can happen. But any vote on reconsideration would have to have a majority of the Planning Commission voting for it. So if I were you, I would not demand a vote on reconsideration at this moment.
And just also, if
Thank you,
there
Mr.
were a
Tim.
vote to reconsider the item, that would have to be agendized on another meeting because we wouldn't have that on the agenda.
That's true.
So just, it
So
wouldn't be heard.
So allow me to.
Process, how would that work if
If
somebody
there-
was to reconsider? have to happen at the next meeting, and then it would be agendized for the following meeting? So it would be like a
Correct.
month process,
It would-
if I'm
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I get some clarification on that? You're saying if there is if I ask for the reconsideration, it wouldn't be voted on today, it would be voted on
So it's not your, if a commissioner
If a
wants to
commissioner,
reconsider. So if either Commissioner Henderson or Laddish, or either one of the absent members brought it back up next meeting and said, I think we should reconsider this.
So not in this meeting.
And there was a majority of the commission, 3 votes to say, yes, let's reconsider, then we would set it for the next available meeting.
It would be another hearing.
Be a new hearing.
Of course, but that reconsideration from the majority or from one of the commissioners that was not here cannot occur today. It has to occur in the next meeting?
It can occur today, you need 3 votes.
Well, I would ask Mr. Tim and Mr. Brett, do any of you,
With the vote on reconsideration, would have to have 3 votes.
3 in the
well,
yes.
I'm being told that if any one of the majority
No,
says
they
this
can't.
should be reconsidered, we can do it on the next meeting. So
No,
my
then they
question-
would vote to reconsider. And if there were 3 members of the commission said, yes, I think it's appropriate to
Got it.
reconsider, then it
Okay.
would be placed on the
So
next agenda.
on the planning commission's part of the planning department's site, you can find the planning commission hearing procedures. And so you can read those. I mean,
I will learn those, yeah.
The reconsideration provisions go on for 4 paragraphs, so I'm not going to read them to you right now.
But I
that's-
appreciate the instructions, thank you.
Yes, so that's where, but he has only 15 days to request an appeal with the Board of Supervisors.
That's correct. 15 calendar days from today's action, an appeal would need to be filed if you intend.
And when is the next planning commission hearing?
14 days.
14
In
days.
14 days. Okay, something to consider. Well, I'd like to thank everyone again today. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. So,
Might want to move your mic back a little bit.
okay, so that concludes. I don't think it's me.
I don't think it's you either. We're going to do some more work on the sound.
Okay.
It's just,
That concludes the regular agenda. Are there any commissioner reports?
No reports.
Okay, planning director report. Do you want to?
Just, I think most people are aware of this, but just to make sure it's out there, the Board of Supervisors will be conducting special hearings on July 30th and 31st for the consideration of the general plan. If they conclude it within those 2 days, it will be concluded. Otherwise, it will be continued to, at this point, we don't know what date. Next meeting, we intend to have the housing element and the complete streets plan. I've distributed copies of those 2 documents to you today. They're also posted on our website and or a link to them on our website. The rest of the packet will be sent out tomorrow. And that's all I have.
All right. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn the meeting until the next regular meeting 2 weeks from today.